Yes. Good morning again. It's in the afternoon in your country, then let me say good afternoon. We are back again after a short break, and let me just remind you, we are at East Africa Bootcamp with the theme of Women in Tech in East Africa, the Techpreneurship Series. This is organized by Pan Africa Tech Foundation. We had an amazing morning. Initially, we had a welcome remarks. We also had an introduction to blockchain, and we had a little bit of discussion. What is blockchain? What are the worries that we have when it comes to blockchain? And I think we've also had a time in our networking session in the tables. If you had other questions, you could still ask Hussein and Jeff. And if you still have more questions in the next breaks, you can talk to them. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to proceed. And we are going for a third session, which is about Introduction to Artificial Intelligence by Claire Matuka, who is Pan African Tech Foundation in Kenya. Claire, you're welcome. You're going to take an hour. Thank you so much. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Such a pleasure to be here. My name is Claire Matuka. I am a data scientist, and I am also in charge of the AI Center of Excellence, as well as the Kenya PATF representative. I'll just start off by giving just a brief introduction to exactly what AICE is. So the AI Center of Excellence, it's a center that is keen on demystifying AI, specifically here in Africa. We offer training on AI. We do research on development driven by AI. And finally, we also offer AI as a service to businesses, clients, and the likes. I don't know for how many of you were able to join our previous session, but today I'll just be taking you through a very brief introduction to artificial intelligence, what it is, and to, in layman's term, just demystify it. So I'm just going to begin presenting. Yes. So I think we can get started now. So as I've said, it's a very brief introduction to AI. So we're going to go through three main things. The first thing is what exactly is AI? And we're going to describe its history, related fields, what people confuse to be AI as. And then we're going to move on to applications. This can be applications in our day-to-day lives, as well as applications in various industries in the world. And then finally, I'm going to answer some big questions, which I get a lot. First of all, is AI biased? Will AI take our jobs? And for many of you, how can you be part of this AI revolution? So let's get started. What is AI? The first term, for me, I have a background in statistics. So I did not realize that I was learning AI. And it was so interesting for me that when I finally discovered what AI was, I was like, oh my God, I've been doing this for quite some time. Like, I've been doing this for quite a while. So most people define AI in different ways. I like this definition, which basically says that AI, or artificial intelligence, is any system that's one, autonomous, two, adaptive. Now, this I got from, I have studied so many different definitions, but this is the definition that just cuts it for me. Very short, very clear, very precise. And you're probably wondering, what does autonomy mean? And it's basically the ability of a system to perform tasks without constant guidance by a user. For most of our current systems, a human being has to constantly tell the machine, do A, do B, do C. But an AI system is autonomous. It performs tasks without necessarily the help of any user. And the second thing is being adaptive. And this is the ability to improve performance and make better decisions by learning from experience. To an AI, this experience is data, which is information. AI is built on top of data. It runs using data, and yeah, it is basically data. Um, Artificial intelligence was began because it's a system that is emulating the way human beings behave, the way human beings think. I'll give it to you like this. When a child is born and they begin walking, at first they take a few steps and maybe they hit a table, and to them that's data. They're like, okay, I hit this table. So next time when I walk, I will not walk towards the table. I'll walk away from the table. And the next time the baby hits something else, hits a chair, and then they're like, okay, I should not hit a table, I should not hit a chair. That's data. And they learn from experience. So given that example, an AI system is basically doing the same. When you give it data, it realizes, okay, this is what this means, and this is what it does not mean. And it takes a lot of data and experience for it to learn exactly what it is doing. So, what's the history of AI? How did it even get started? Why would someone think of creating a system that mimics human behavior? So the term AI, as it is, as we call it now, was first coined at Dartmouth. There was a conference happening there, and then the term AI came up. So at this time, there was a lot of buzz about computer science and using machines to do tasks, and this is where AI came in. And then in 1997, an AI machine, which is Deep Blue, beat the world chess champion. So I don't know how many of you guys have watched the Queen's Gambit, but you know chess is not an easy game. But this AI system was somehow able to beat the chess champion. And given what I had said earlier about data and experience, so remember, a machine is able to consume and remember millions, if not tons of data. And this is probably what helped the AI, and this data is what is able to help this AI to beat the champion. And then in the 2000s to now, we now have these personal assistants. We have Siri, we have Cortana, we have Google. They're learning what you're doing, they're learning what you like, and they do what you ask them to do, and now they know more about you. So it's basically collecting data and developing a personal assistant for each person. And then I like to think of 2012 as the year when the current boom, the current excitement about AI began. And this is because of AlexNet. Now, AlexNet is a CNN architecture that basically changed computer vision. And this is because it incorporated the use of GPUs, which are graphic processing units. And it's because of GPUs that we're able to, one, process the amount of data we currently have, and two, create the AI systems we have currently. And it's basically the boom of the current AI wave, data science wave, and everything that's going on right now. So that's a brief of history of AI. There's so much that has been happening, but these for me were key moments or key things that stood out. And again, I gave this assignment last time, and I will give it again. If you would like to at least get a entertainment aspect or entertainment view of AI, kindly go watch the Imitation Game. It is an assignment, yes, and it basically describes Alan Turing, who was one of the greatest mathematicians of all time, and he created a machine that was able to crack another machine. So it's cracked the Enigma code, which was being run by another machine, and it was the first intelligent machine. And so please go watch the Imitation Game, and I bet you will not be disappointed. And that's basically it for my introduction to what is AI. I think now I will move into the next part, which is talking about related fields. And this is where so many people get confused. We have AI, we have machine learning, we have data science, and then we have robotics, which is what most people think AI is. So remember, when we talked about AI is a system that is one, adaptive, two, autonomous. Machine learning is a subfield of AI that deals with the adaptive nature. So adaptivity in the terms that it uses data to improve its performance and to learn. So that's machine learning. It is a subfield of AI. And then now we have data science, which is a field, interdisciplinary field that combines so many things. It has computer science, it has aspects of math, aspects of statistics, aspects of AI, aspects of machine learning, and it uses all these. The main goal for data science is to one, analyze and then gather actionable insights from data. And then finally, we have robotics, which is basically design and construction and use of robots to perform tasks that were originally done by human beings. Whenever I mention the term AI, most people think that it's a bunch of robots coming to take over the world and to cause chaos and to do all these things. But this is a bit of robotics with AI. And I would just like to add that we are not yet there. We are currently in the field of what I call narrow AI, where an AI system is only able to do one thing. You cannot find an AI system that will wash your clothes and also beat your chest. We are not yet there. So we are not yet there where an AI can take over the world. So please do not be alarmed. Um, then next up, we move on to applications. And I find this very fun because so many people are using AI without knowing they are actually using AI. And so I'll start with image recognition. I think everyone has a phone. I'll show you my phone right now. And whenever I open my phone, you would be able to see, but it literally says recognizing my face. And I programmed it, and for most of you already programmed your phone so that you unlock your phone using your face. And that's basically AI. Everyone uses this, most people use this, and that's just a simple example of AI. And in this image on my slide, you can see an AI identifying objects. So it's identifying that this is an orange, it's identifying that this is a banana, it's identifying different objects in a room. And I'd like you to know that the way an AI identifies images is not the same way I, as a human, will identify it. They use things like pixels, which are basically like colors. They use dimensions. They use length, width, all these things, so that they can be able to identify these things. And the only way an AI is able to even identify a fruit in the first place is if you feed it tons of image of different fruits and label them so that it can be able to learn that, oh, this is based on this 100 image, this is actually how an orange looks like. And based on these 100 images, this is how a banana looks like. And then it's able now to identify whether this fruit is a banana, this fruit is not. And then on the other image there, you have an AI that is able to recognize emotions. So as human beings, we actually have facial expressions for each emotion. And sometimes we're able to tell it, sometimes we're not. So using the same concept again, an AI has been trained to recognize emotion. Can tell when you're sad, when you're fearful, when you're angry, when you're confused, when you're neutral, when you literally have no emotion or no expression to give. And that's it on image recognition. The next thing is my all-time favorite, self-driving cars. I know we have a lot of car fanatics in this discussion right now. And I think the biggest or most well-known brand is Tesla's. Tesla's use AI to actually get the self-driving cars. And for most of us, we don't really understand how it works. But just to give you a brief breakdown, the cars, they're all fitted with sensors. So it's a mix of IoT, robotics, and also AI. It's not only AI that's working there, because we need a system to get in the data. So you can see they use maps, they use sensors, they use cameras, they use all these things so that and then the AI comes in where the data that is fed to the system is then able to identify, okay, there's a person walking here, this is a road, this is a street, this is a traffic light, this is all these things, all powered by AI. And I think it's pretty cool. At the far left, you can see a tiny Google car. And I think other than Tesla, I don't know why, but most self-driven cars have this weird, they're not, I don't know, they're not pleasing to the eye. And I think we should look forward to working on that and even having some of these cool models fitted to have AI running in them. Just my thoughts. And then finally, we have content recommendation. So many people do not realize they interact with AI on a day-to-day basis. When you go on Netflix and you watch Breaking Bad, that's an action movie. The AI system is realizing, one, you like action movies, and this is content that you like, and so it will recommend similar movies to you. Same thing with YouTube. If you like watching cat videos, YouTube will keep recommending you cat videos. That's just data being used and then being used to better understand you, one, and two, recommend content to you. If Claire likes to watch, let's say, romance movies, and I have similar traits, or let's say Natasha also likes to watch romance movies, and I rated a movie 10. They use my information and what they already know about me and Natasha to then recommend the similar thing to Natasha, because if I liked it, then Natasha is also likely to like it. And this is content recommendation, and that's AI. We use it every day, and so many people do not realize that they are actually using AI. I hope I've gotten everyone to understand just a bit of the, let me say, fun aspects of AI and how we use it and how we interact with it in our day-to-day basis without even realizing that, hey, that's AI. Next up, now I'm gonna move into a bit more business aspect of AI, and that's the applications of AI in different industries. I'll begin with health. There are so many problems being faced in health currently. And given these problems, AI has been able to come and help solve some of these problems. And I'll give a very brief breakdown of each. So for health, you can see I've listed their diagnosis. And why I've listed this is because I don't know about many of you, but sometimes it is so hard for someone to get the right diagnosis. And it's a problem so many people are facing. You are sick and you keep sending home, you're being told, oh, it's this, oh, it's this, oh, it's this, or you basically do not know what the problem is. And this is where AI has come in to help. Given a list of symptoms, given whether you are feeling a headache, you also vomiting, you also have nausea, an AI system is able to use this data to then give a diagnosis. Now, I'd like to put out a disclaimer that the AI is not taking the doctor out of the picture. It is basically aiding the doctor. And by this, I mean, a doctor is a human being. They cannot possibly have a list of every single disease on this planet, but an AI system can. And it can provide a narrowed down list of possible diseases. And this is how AI is currently helping the health industry. A couple of softwares are already in the works and are doing this for so many doctors and people who can actually use it. Then the second thing is in development of medicine. It is quite shocking that a lot of money, I think nearly $2 trillion, is spent on developing medicine. And even if this 2 trillion is spent, still only 10% of medicines actually make it to the market. And why do some not make it to the market? One, because they do not work for everyone. They work for some people, they don't work for some people. People have different genes, people react in different ways. So AI is coming in here to help with this. Given the data that is provided by previous tests and previous development of medicine, AI is able to further, let's say, fasten up this process and make it easier for someone to know, okay, this will most likely work on people with this type of gene and not work on people with this type of gene. So let's not put it into production. And then finally, again, we also have customer experience. Whenever you walk into a hospital, there's always a line. Most of the time, no one really knows how urgent your situation is. No one really knows how urgent a stomachache is, which is more urgent, a stomachache, a headache. We honestly do not know. But given AI, and AI is able to tell, okay, this person should go first because their case is more severe than this other person, just given the symptoms. Because again, an AI has a repository of data, it has a repository of knowledge, and this will help improve the customer experience, because this means that one, people will move faster in lines or in hospital, and two, if you need urgent help, you will get urgent help. And then finally, we have surgery. And in surgery, this is a mix of AI as well as robotics, where basically, I've had so many people talking about these COVID doctors, where currently, since COVID is spreading, instead of having a human being be the one to test an individual, we can have robot doctors do that. And that's basically a summary on health. I will quickly move on to agriculture, which I also really, really love. And I'll begin with weather prediction. With global warming, with all these things that are happening, anything is possible. It might be sunny in the morning and there are hailstorms in the evening. And the only way we can be able to predict or forecast or know such things will happen is using data. If we have data for the past 10 years, and using AI, we can identify patterns that I, as a human being, would not be able to identify. And this helps in the weather prediction. And then monitoring of crops, diseases, and pests. I will not go so much into this because I think we all understand what the role crop diseases and pests play in agriculture. They are basically very destructive. And I'd like to talk about this app, right? It's powered by AI. And what it does is you basically take an image. If you're a farmer and you're growing, let's say, maize, and you notice there's some weird growth or something weird is happening on your leaf. So you can basically take a photo of the leaf. And after you take a photo of the leaf, this is image recognition in AI. AI is able to identify, okay, this is the disease, and this is what you're supposed to do. And I think that's pretty cool. That will save you on time. That will save you on so many things. And I think everyone has basic access to a phone. And then finally, we have monitoring of soil health, where you're able to tell, okay, this is the level of the soil, and this is what you're supposed to do to get your soil to a certain level. That's agriculture. I think that in terms of business, AI has been more accepted in the finance industry as compared to all the others. And here I've listed just this forecasting, where you're able to forecast and know, okay, this is what will happen in the financial markets in the next 10 years. This is what will happen in the financial market in the next year. And this is because of past data that has been collected. And then there's fraud detection. I'd like to reference this in the finance and also in the insurance industry. A lot of fraud is happening where people are getting claims without them necessarily being the person. So, for example, in insurance, you can integrate image recognition where you cannot get a claim unless you are actually the person. If this in the same way, like it is impossible for someone to fake your face, honestly. I think everyone has a unique face and it will be impossible. That way we can stop fraud. We can stop fraud. And then as well in the customer service. It's so hard sometimes to get customer service in banks unless you physically go there yourself. Customer service agents only work from 9 to 5, and they also have lunch breaks. And they get tired and they get bored. But with chatbots and AI does not need to eat, it does not need to sleep, it works 24/7. This means for finance industries, you can have customer service running 24/7 all the time. And better customer service means to better growth of the company. And then also I will move into education. How is AI being applied in education? The thing with so many people keep complaining that the education system does not benefit every single person. It only benefits some people because everyone learns in their own way. Maybe I learn better by watching videos. Someone else learns better by reading alone. Someone else learns better by having a teacher take them step by step through everything. We all have our different processes and we all have our own way of learning things. Using AI is able to identify these patterns, and currently so many people are trying to incorporate AI into creating individualized learning, where maybe I can have 50% video content, 30% teacher having working with a teacher, and 10% with something else. This is individualized learning. This means that everyone gets to achieve their goal and everyone is learning. And then we also have something called smart content, where it's basically, I don't know for so many of you if you've tried looking for, let's say you're studying biology and you go online and you try and look for a book on biology. Oh my god, there's so many, there are over 10. Which one do I read? I want a bit of everything, but I also don't want to miss the entire point. And this is where smart content is coming in, because we're using AI to develop smart content. And then finally, we have voice assistants, which you all know about. Not everyone is in an ability to hear or to talk or to see or to do all these things. And using AI, we can use voice assistant to help people learn more. Yeah, and these are just a few industries that I have touched on. There are so many other industries where AI is being applied and is working on being applied. And yeah, I'm honestly looking forward to see how it goes. Yeah, thank you so much for the comments. And yeah, so the big questions, which is what everyone is always asking about. The first one is, will AI take our jobs? I'll put it this way. What we are currently experiencing right now, IoT, AI, blockchain, it's emerging technologies, and it's being called the fourth industrial revolution. If it's the fourth, that means we've had around three others. We've had the first, second, and third. And I think the third was electricity. I'm not sure. I think the third was electricity. The second was the steam engine, everything. So let me give an example for when electricity came. And before electricity came, there were candle makers. Everyone was powering their house using their candles, right? And imagine if electricity came and the candle makers said, no, do not bring electricity. It is going to run us out of jobs. We do not want electricity. I don't think as the world we would be at the same place. It is up to us to adapt and to learn. It was up to candle makers to realize, okay, electricity is here. How do I adapt? How do I still want to light people's home. Okay, I can sell bulbs, I can sell all these things. So it is up to us to learn and adapt. The point of technology is to make our lives easier. And if it's making our life easier, that means it gives us more time to upskill. And remember, in as much as AI is coming in, we still need people to run, we still need people to code these AI engines. We still need people to manage these AI systems. And so for me, all I can say is it's time for us to change. It's time for us to grow. I like this quote. I think it's by I'm not sure what's his name, but it says the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read and write, but rather it is those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So it's time for us to relearn and adapt ourselves. And then the next question is AI biased? AI has no emotions. It is literally a software or a system. It is a machine. It has no emotion, so it cannot be biased. The people who are biased are us. So it's up to us as human beings to be not biased, to be ethical in the way we use AI. It's always, AI will only be bad in the hands of bad human beings, and it will be good in the hands of good human beings. If I am trying to create a system, and this is where mainly AI bias has come in, let's say in facial recognition. If I'm trying to create a facial recognition system and I only feed my AI with data of a certain race, why then would someone blame the AI for only identifying the certain race? The problem is not the AI, the problem is me as the individual for feeding it only one kind of data. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say AI is biased. I'd say the people running AI or running bad AI are the ones who are biased. And then, as I conclude my presentation, how can I be part of this revolution? I like AI, I want to be a part of it. And one, you're either interested in the tech bits, or two, you're not honestly interested in tech, but you really do want to apply yourself. And so here, I have just given a few roles that you can take part in. If you want to take part in coding, if you're interested in coding, in doing all this cool stuff, and that's the technical bit, you can be a data engineer, you can be a data analyst, a data scientist, an AI engineer, a software engineer, and even an AI researcher. If you're not interested in coding, but you still want to be part of this in terms of business, you can be a business leader. Because remember, we need someone who can interpret business solutions and find the right solution in terms of AI. So we need that. And you can be a business leader. You can be a subject matter expert. I've given so many examples in different fields. You can be a subject matter expert in health. You can be one in finance. You can be one in real estate. Yeah, and then we also have project and product managers. And then change management experts. Why included change management experts is because as we are moving from the traditional way of doing things to now the current way of doing things using AI, we need people who are able to manage that change, who are able to help people transition into that change. And yeah, and other than this, you can also be an AI enthusiast. You can share experiences on AI. You can choose to be an AI expert. I feel like the opportunities are endless, and this is just the beginning of you being part of this revolution. Yeah, and that concludes it for my presentation. Thank you so much. You can reach me on LinkedIn at Claire Matuka, and also on my email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claire. What a wonderful presentation. I mean, I like the way you explained to us, in a simple way, but you've also tried to break it down, how we can relate to artificial intelligence in our daily activities. You reminded about the movies we've watched. You've reminded us about the cars we drive. So this is really, really interesting because at the end of the day, we thought maybe this is something like a robot different from us, like it's maybe up space, you know. But literally, we live with it every day. So this is quite interesting. And I see so many comments here. People are saying it's nice, fantastic. It's been simple, exciting, and interesting. Robot doctors are interesting. So this shows that we've really got the training that you've given us. So before we end this session and move to the other session, I want us to really do something and to really see if we really understood what Claire said. So if you think you've really understood artificial intelligence from 0 to 50%, give me a thumbs up. Or just give me a yes on the chat. Yes. And if you did 50% to 100, give me a clap, applause, please. We can also do that on the chat. Okay, so this shows that we've really got the artificial intelligence training. Thank you so much, Claire. I don't know if we have any question so far. I don't see any question. Oh yeah, there's one. It says, how safe are artificial intelligence dealing with humanity? Like what? Sorry. Is it many questions? Because I can't see the questions anymore. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to see the questions. I could see them, but then I can't go down.
Hi, Lydia. I think I can see some
Ellen,
of the questions.
can you go down the questions? I can't.
Okay, there's a question here that says, how safe are the artificial intelligence dealing with humanity? Like, what are the possible effects? Okay, so how safe are the artificial intelligence dealing with humanity? Like, what are the possible effects? I think that's the question.
I'm not sure I quite understand the question, but I think I would reference it back to what I said earlier about AI and AI being ethical. It is up to us as human beings. We cannot say that the AI is doing this. It's us who are controlling. We are currently in the age where we are the ones in control of what an AI can do and what an AI cannot do. And so, yeah, that's just basically what I can say.
Okay. I think he further explained.
Jeffrey Morgan.
Go on, Elaine. You go.
Okay. I think the questions were by Jeffrey Morgan, Claire, and I think he has. He's been very happy with your session. He says here, "Whoa, I'm moved, and it can really help in my field." Thanks, Claire. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
I'll let you, Karen, Lydia.
There's another question says, is there a negative side of AI to human beings?
Yeah, definitely there is a negative, but then again, it's negative if we allow it to be negative. As I've said, we're still in the age of narrow AI, where a machine is only able to do one thing at a time. And I gave the example of it's so hard to find a machine or an AI system that can do multiple things. It's either able to only play chess or only do laundry or only do one thing, but it's so hard to find an AI that can do numerous things at the same time. And so That's just something I'd like to put out. And in terms of negativity, again, it's just like my previous answer. It can only be negative if we make it negative. If I, as a data scientist, choose to create an AI system that is harmful or is biased, then it will be negative. Yeah, it's just the same thing as a knife. If I can use a knife to cut onions and another person will use a knife for a bad reason to kill someone. So it's the same thing, it's a tool. So it depends on the hands of the person who it's in. Yeah.
So meaning we have a choice to use AI
Have
for
a choice.
positive or for negative. Another question is, can the robotic surgery practices be reliable and how is the input process?
Yeah, so in terms of robotic surgery, so the thing with robotic surgery is that by the time it is actually allowed to even carry out these procedures, there's been a lot of testing and there's a lot of ensuring there's 100% accuracy, if not 99.9999% accuracy when this is happening. But then again, I'd say we also need to keep in mind that these are machines. The same way your normal phone can malfunction, anything is possible, but we pray to God that none of that will happen during a surgery. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think there's no more question. I can just see Claire, awesome stuff. No, there's no more questions. So I
I
think we are
think
done for this.
I see someone asking
Everything.
how are the disabled accommodated.
Okay.
I gave the example of voice assistants. So for example, if you cannot hear, you cannot speak, you cannot see. Let me say, for example, someone who cannot see. We have the voice assistant, which are able to translate education content so that someone is able to hear. And then yeah, I'd say that. And also, still in the education field, we have people with various learning disabilities. And this is where individualized content also comes in, because then it's able to identify that you have a learning disability and this is how the content is suited for you. So, yeah, I'd say those are just a few of the ways. And I'm sure people are working on many, many others that, yeah.
It's interesting how people can really connect this with the movies. This comment says, wow, just love the way you have clarified it. I recall Deadpool 2 and X-Men. Thank you. Very, very interesting. So I think we're going to have other sessions for breakouts, which we can really interact with Claire. Claire, which table will you be in later?
I think I'll just join in it. I think I'll join table 10 probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to
can
catch up
ask me
more
any
with Claire, you can
questions.
find us there. So now I have to end this session and start the fourth session. This one coming is really exciting. So just hang in there and wait for more learning and unlearning today.